So in essence, I think the Caribbean space is best defined, perhaps. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not declaring a territory. I'm really asking a question, throwing out a proposal. The Caribbean is really a critical space, shaped by wherever Caribbean people are, about who is looking, and who's concerned about this space and what it offers. One of the things that may define the Caribbean is how it's defined by its availability for people to sort of impose constructs. I mean, this began with Columbus. I don't even like to mention his name, but it continues. Everybody that arrives in the Caribbean feels that they're making a discovery, you know? And then the person that operates within this critical space, wherever they may be, have to now argue with these designations, these definitions. So the Caribbean then is defined by its availability, often, and within the new kind of curatorial enterprises that engage it, engaging might be a polite way of saying it. The conditions of visibility almost require availability in terms of thematic constructs that are imposed upon what the Caribbean is supposed to represent, so that the Caribbean becomes a kind of curatorial Play-Doh for anybody that wants to show up and say, oh, I have a concept, let me just do a little test and see who fits in and out. What I think my conversations with people over the net in this sort of more expanded field, this critical space that I'm talking about, is when we become agentive. This is where the draconian switch, the literary small acts as an enterprise, the draconian switch, Indie Groove, Alice Yard, the things that we have generated here and how they are interlocked with this wider kind of critical field. That's where it gets kind of exciting, and that's where it gets kind of interesting, because we are in a sense involved in a process where we are trying to figure out our relationship to all of these constructions. Constructions that are both internally made and also, you know, coming from the kind of dialogues in the diaspora. One of the main reasons I invited Richard Rawlins of the Draconian Switch to speak with me and you about this notion of the Caribbean as a critical space is that a lot of the work that they have been doing is digitally based, and the networks have opened up some really fascinating possibilities. So I think
Draconian Switch was started in May 2008. I was on a plane ride with my colleague Marlon Dabo. The things that we started to discuss was the lack of collaborations, that people were working in these little boxes and they were operating alone. And we weren't getting very far as a group, or maybe that was my impression, because you have a lot of people that did a hell of a lot in terms of where we are in terms of the art space in Trinidad and Tobago. You have people like Chris, who's done a lot in terms of encouraging a lot of young artists to pursue fellowships and courses of study, and are doing some pretty prolific things right now. I mean, recently in an interview with Draconian Switch, Wendell McShine, an artist who's in Mexico, and there's a Caribbean reaching out into Mexico there, right? Actually credited Chris with pushing him to go and do a lot more than just stay in this confined space. When we started Draconian Switch, this is what we were intending to do. It spawned the Erotic Art Week, because the collective of 15 to 25 people that were involved in Draconian Switch then set their sights on doing something more. Something that was online exploded outside and started to creep. Of course, for a lot of us, Alice Yard, which is tied closely to most of our collective.
Respecting one another, regardless of boundaries, creeds or colors. In Trinidad, from the outside looking in, anyone can see we're not faking, we're truly family. We're Trinidad and Tobago family, all cause of imagination. We realizing great visions.
Draconian Switch is currently involved in a show in Connecticut right now that is based on a number of Caribbean artists. And as one friend, Dave Williams, said to me, he said there's something that you just can't escape when you take a look at Caribbean people's work. Whether they know it or not, the work that they do makes them Caribbean. Or maybe it's the fact that they're Caribbean people makes the work what it is. But it's become this sort of strange, non-interchangeable thing that you look at it and you just know it's Caribbean.
I mean, the internet has been available in the Caribbean, I think, since the late 90s, maybe more dynamically from about 1997 on. But I think within the last 5 years, it has really created a massive inversion in the sense of what you're part of and what you're excluded from, you know?
So there are people doing practically free online galleries. They're putting that work out there that may have just been in a sketchbook or in a sketch pad somewhere tucked away where nobody is seeing it. And people are actually getting the opportunity to see and engage these people in collaboration.
I remember when we did when the galvanized experiment happened in Port of Spain in 2006. People like Giorgio Popplewell and Nicholas Lachlan were adamant that we should carry the entire process on Flickr. And the whole of the galvanized process is an archive that still sits on a blog.
Right.
It was very funny that we did this in like September. This was August and September of 2006. And then we opened a copy of Freeze, and the director of Freeze said that in the near future, curators will be curating on Flickr. And, you know, and we were saying, but didn't we just do that? Didn't we just curate a show and put it on Flickr and hide the whole archive on a blog? But again, it was just one of those most amazing moments, because in a way we had already done that. And but we wait to see where the register is for these kinds of conversations.
But I mean,
you know, it's funny, you know?
But going in that same direction, we have to go back to the real arts thing. The real arts aren't just having this exhibition in a physical space, but they actually have a proponent of the show that's going to be running online. And that's where we came in a Draconian Switch, and we're actually doing the catalog, right? The catalog of the show, and there's going to be a lot of exciting things in there because you're going to be able to visually do visual and sound in terms of PDF and things that, you know, we couldn't do before, I guess. But in terms of your realities, your financial realities of the world, and all the financial crisis attacking everybody, right? You actually have a gallery saying, okay, a large chunk of the show will be online. It'll be, you know, it'll be in a downloadable PDF format, which is what we were doing when we started that whole thing. So you're looking at it as
it's fluidity, flexibility, topicality,
and collaboration.
I mean, that's kind of where we all are. I mean,
and I think maybe that, I think that maybe is your Caribbean.
Yeah,
that's your Caribbean.